Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Barrett Kunyan.
It's the lovely Oliwia. Good to have you back, Oliwia. Welcome to the Bioactivator platform. It's always a privilege to have you back. And today's title topic, if I may, it's called the Noble Planet Earth. But before we start on that, may I take the opportunity to ask you how are you feeling? You're looking well as ever, and you're glowing.
Hello, Barrett, and hello, everyone joining the Bioactivator today. I'm very, very good. The energies that we have experienced lately during the 9/11, they were extremely powerful. And when such powerful energies come, they often unravel a lot of things, when it comes to personal relationships, a lot of things that you actually, at first you see them in your hologram and you're like, wow, well, there's something off here. But in order to gain your answers for what's actually going on, you need to look into yourself. And that's what was kind of for me, I must admit. But I take it the very positive way, because sometimes it requires a lot of emotional, mental, energetic clearing. It all needs to be put together in order to make it a very good outcome. So I'm really good. And I'm really excited for our today's talk. So thank you for inviting me again. And I'm really excited for the activation we're going to bring tonight.
Oh, for sure. And I noticed that you have a slide presentation again. I'm sure will be as exciting like the one we had before. But do you want to take it away in terms of, shall we begin with the slide, because there's quite a few pages to go through, and then we can have a little bit of a break in between.
Sounds like a good idea. We're actually going to start with like a short summary of what we talked before, and then we're going to get into new exciting things.
Okay, so I will begin by clicking on the Noble Planet Earth slideshow. So I will open now the first page.
Can you actually go back to the first one? Because I just would like to say one sentence regarding this, the Noble Planet Earth, and I picked these colors because they actually really remind me of something called the flames of urea. Maybe the flames of urea have a little bit of more intense pink. However, the urea Earth is something that we will actually become in 900 years. It's a really beautiful word, and I just love repeating it to also spread the frequency, urea. So this is actually the kind of frequency that the planet is receiving right now, and that's how you can actually visualize it. These are the colors of the flames of urea.
That's brilliant.
We can proceed.
Thank you for that.
So this is just a quick summary of like, where are we? What is exactly going on? What on earth happened? So when we are looking at the universal structure, as I said before on our first part of this interview, we are actually a 15-dimensional universe. And basically, when we look at the structure called the Katara grid, which has 12 centers, that's how it's crystic. They are also stargates. We are located on center 3, which is the Stargate 3, and it's also according to the third dimension. We are also located in the third dimension. So it's like, once we are looking at these numbers, so for example, the number 5, this is also the localization of the Stargate, and we have its correspondence on the planet. So like, if we know where the Stargate is and we have enough frequency, we can go through it and reach a certain location in this universe which would correspond to that stargate. That's how it works. So when we are looking at these Katara grids, we actually see them as universal maps. The Guardians are basically using them to see like, okay, well, if I want to go from Earth to Orion, what kind of gates I need to go through in order to reach that. And to also kind of complete, because I remember I only mentioned a little bit about it the last time. As I said, the Katara grid is a structure which is in the universe, on the planet, galaxy, but it's also in the human body, as above, so below. So when we are looking at the connection we have with the planet, we are actually connected through the Katara grid, through actually center one. So when we are actually talking about like people having issues with being ungrounded, it's because of the blockage in the Katara center one and the blockage connected to the base chakra, which is actually also corresponding to the Katara center one. So that's how we are indelibly connected to the universe through something called the planetary biofeed interface system, the PBIS in short. And that's how we are basically having this connection with the planet. So whatever frequencies Earth is receiving, we are also getting it on some level.
That's brilliant. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. Do you want me to go on to the next?
Yes, unless you have any questions, you know.
I'm fine at this point. I'm sure I will in a minute.
Okay, so this is just like about what I talked about before, the fall of Tara, because basically, just to remind those who haven't watched the first part, the angelic human race lineage, it started on Tara in Dimension 5. But due to many kind of manipulations with the Solar Templar initiates, the core of Tara, the planetary core of Tara, has exploded. And because of that, the parts of the planet, there were like 12 parts of the planet, they literally fell into density 1. Density 1, dimension 3. So it fell from dimension 5 to 3. Many communities refer to dimension 5 as the one that we are ascending to, which is not exactly the case anymore. We were supposed to, but now we are following a different planetary plan, let's say.
Yeah.
So basically, we are experiencing right now a different pathway that the planet has chosen, but I will talk about that a little bit later. So basically, when we refer to the lost souls of Tara, we are actually referring also to some of us, because those who are having the souls of angelic humans, they were actually on Tara before, and they fell along with the planet. And just like the planet got fragmented, parts of their souls also got fragmented. So, like a rescue mission for these souls and for the parts of Tara, which is actually the whole solar system, like the Jupiter, Mars, Earth, these are all a part of Tara. And they were supposed to all get reconnected together and come back again to dimension 5. But now we are having a different host, so we will focus mainly on Earth. So the Covenant of Palaidor was actually an agreement between different stellar races, mainly the Confederation of Ra, which is like the Confederation from Dimension 8, where the metagalactic core is, and they are basically like taking care of, the life on different planetary systems. And they usually take over when such crisis situations take place, which doesn't happen often in our galaxy, to be honest. So it was like a very big thing that happened on Tara. It had a universal significance. So the Covenant of Palaidor was made mainly between the Syrians, the Pleiadians, and other guardian races, which decided to actually help the lost souls of Tara. And in order to help them, they actually created a hosted matrix that I will mention in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this way, these fragmented souls could have, through different incarnational cycles, they were able to collect the lost parts of themselves put them all together, and find their way back to Tara and to the higher stellar systems.
Yeah. I've just come up with the someone's thrown the question: do we need to be in close proximity to a Stargate in order to go through? So do we?
Yes, so it actually depends where you want to go, because in the past, where we had our Merkaba fields, we weren't thinking much of a distance, because if you activate your Merkaba vehicle, you could go from Bulgaria to Egypt in less than 5 seconds.
Right.
So the distance wasn't so significant. These rainbow run tables that were done in the past, that was basically like, sending the frequencies to the planetary grids, actually in order to sometimes energize or actually open a certain frequency conduit, because with the stargates, it's not just like that you make passage through them, but the stargates also anchor frequencies on planets. And in order to do that, the stargates need our help. And that was done on these rainbow run tables. So usually the angelic humans were gathering near the stargates that their template was corresponding to, because these are like the chakras of Earth. So it was the best to be close to a certain stargate. But as I said, the distance didn't really matter, because we were moving really fast.
Excellent.
So I hope that answers the question.
That's well answered. Right, I'll go forward, if I may.
Yeah, so the sphere of Amenti was a solution. So when I was talking about the Covenant of Palaidor, there needed to be created like a host matrix for all these souls that were, in pieces. And the sphere of Amenti, as it's saying on the slide, it was actually created to give the soul fragments of Tara that were lost in Earth's dimensional fields a specific pattern. And again, when we are talking about the Katara grid, it has 12 centers. 12 because it's actually connecting you to the Christ dimension. As I said many times, it's dimension 12. And again, as above, so below. So in our DNA, the angelic humans have a 12-strand DNA template. And each of the strands is corresponding to the Katara centers and the dimensional fields. So with this divine pattern, which is the 12 DNA imprint, they were able to, the angelic humans whose souls got fragmented, they were able to make their way back through embodying this 12-strand DNA imprint, embodying the Maharata current, which is a 12-dimensional current of energy. So basically it's saying the sphere of Amenti served as a host matrix, a surrogate morphogenetic field, through which the lost souls of Tara could evolve and return home. So that's actually what is still the case nowadays. On this image, I actually took it from the cover of the Voyager's book of Ashayana Dean. This is actually the blue flame of Amenti, because in order to actually be able to connect with the sphere of Amenti in the past, you would actually need to have your 5 DNA strands activated to embody something called the blue flame. And then you are able to access the hosts of Amenti, and actually the hosts of Amenti were reconnecting Earth with Tara again, reconnecting actually with the future, because as I said on the interview before, and maybe just to give people more clarity on that, I said that actually falling of Tara into Earth was actually coming back to the past, because the frequency accretion is actually the forward movement in time. So when we make our ascension to the 6, the 7, the 8, whatever, we actually move forward. We move to the future, we move up. But it also goes the other way around. When you descend, you go back in time, because you basically lower your frequency. And that's what happened in case of Earth. It decreased in frequency, so it started to de-evolve and come back to the past. And the sphere of Amenti was basically, you could say, trans-dimensional because it was holding the imprint of Tara. It was actually like the sphere of Amenti had a part of the quantum of the original Tara that didn't fall. So they put this sphere of Amenti into the core of Earth in order to keep that connection with Tara, so the whole planet and its life field could re-evolve again. So and there was a lot of conflict about the sphere of Amenti later on, as we will be talking about the 1,000-Year War or the Electric Wars. It was always about the sphere of Amenti because it's the Earth's real treasure. You could have gold, you could have lots of gold, lots of silver, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the connection to your original morphogenetic race. So right now, in the current times, we are actually also gaining back our connection with the sphere of Amenti, and I will later explain how this is going to work in contemporary times. But in the past, in the first seedings, in the seeding 1, actually, the angelic humans were actually reconnecting with Tara through the sphere of Amenti.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for that. We'll click onto this next slide here.
So just to give a little bit of an insight into kind of like how these seedings were put into place, there was supposed to be one seeding. That was the plan of the Covenant of Palaidor. I mean, we were supposed to evolve here for a few millions of years or something like that. I mean, Tara had fallen in the past even before, and then it made its way back. So it's like it de-evolved again. So Tara has a really, you could say, wild history when it comes to these different kind of things that were happening there. Same with Gaia, the next level of Earth, which is in Dimension 8. The wars on Gaia were also, really, really powerful, because when we are talking about the wars happening in higher dimensions, it's actually difficult to imagine like they try to show this to us through the Star Wars or, different kind of science fiction movies. However, we need to understand that these are wars of pure energy. So it's like, yeah, there could be one starship shooting to another. But actually, when it comes to these very high beings, it's actually much more than that. When we will talk in a moment about the electric wars, I have this memory. I wasn't on the planet during the first seeding. I incarnated during the seeding 2. However, I remember that I was a guardian at that time. And like when I have these very slight memories of the electric wars, these were actually... This wasn't exactly war, because it's like when I come back to this memory, I don't hear any noise of shooting or whatever. I just see these huge solar flares shooting from the sky to the planet, and it's like the noise was so loud that I didn't hear it with my ears, but I saw like the continents breaking, like everything exploding, and actually like the explosion, like I didn't even see something breaking into pieces. It's like it was already turned into dust. So when we look into it, these were very, very strong frequencies that were being hit into the planet. And that's why all of these cataclysms were taking place in the past. It wasn't because of Earth having its cycles of disaster, as it's perceived by some different movements. It's actually when the planet gets out of balance, earthquakes start to happen, floods start to happen. After the electric wars, we had our first ice age. So that was actually caused by the fact that almost something called the pole shift happened. So when we are looking into these seedings, the first seeding started 25 million years ago. So there needed to be a lot of the time period before actually the life on Earth was possible, because if we come back to the fall of Tara, it happened 550 million years ago. And the first seeding started 25 million years ago. So there was a big time period between actually the humans were seeded here again. But it needed to be, because the earth needed to stabilize, and they first started seeding different plants, animals, basically making an environment, because there was no environment here. The planet was going through major disasters after it basically de-evolved. Like, we also need to look at the planet as a conscious being. It was in the state of trauma. Some people who are actually like dealing with the trauma, the feeling of trauma, of fear that they cannot explain, they were feeling the planet very much. And some people still have the traumas from the electric wars, from something called the Iani massacre. Their cellular memory remembers. And that's why they need to sometimes go back into a very deep healing that is going even beyond this incarnation. So the first seeding basically ended 5.5 million years ago because of an event called the electric wars. Then there was another time period where the earth needed to stabilize. As I said, there were 2 floods, basically very huge floods. The ice age coming for a while, and then there was like enough of good conditions for the environment to begin the second seeding, which started 3.7 million years ago. And again, it ended because of another war, which is the 1,000-year war. And then we've got another seeding 3, which is the current seeding that we are a part of. And it basically lasts until today, and it started almost 800,000 years ago. And it's going to finish in 900 years. So this is the last seeding on this planet, and this time it's going to be successful. So third time lucky.
Excellent.
As they say.
Yeah, brilliant. If I've got 1 or 2 questions, if I may. So memory recalls, the way I feel, is very, very important in terms of the activations, in terms of how it can help neutralize the planet. So because, I'm not saying what percentage some people are in limbo, because if they're not conscious, then and then they start remembering, that will help activate and because you were saying about certain earth changes, in terms of if people can't recall, or then the planet could go into a bit of an earthquake situation, because there are some earthquakes happening as we speak. So it will lessen, because people will become more in tune with what's taking place. And I can't think of any better way than harmonizing a situation. That's why these sort of shows are paramount in terms of memory recall. Yeah, I just wanted to put that. I take it is
Yes, that's
significant.
why we need to talk about these things, because these are things which can be shocking, which can be quite surprising. Like, wow, there was like a pure energy war here. Well, that's crazy. But we need to talk about this, because, as you said, we are raising awareness, and we are not talking about this to be like, well, it's going to happen again. No, it won't. Just to calm everyone down. It's about remembering, as you said, and that if we activate this in our cellular memory, and I had a lot of like images going through my head when I was first time reading about this, it helped me actually understand why I feel like I've been so long on this planet, and in basically almost every of my incarnations, I was like, wow, like it was intense, right? So it is making us more harmonized as we start to work with these imprints. And the earthquakes happening right now are actually also, we can look at it from two perspectives. The earth basically cleaning out and trying to get back into balance, but there are also some fractions of the fallen angelics which by these earthquakes try to get the planet out of the balance.
Yeah.
So there are two ways to look at it, and each of the cases is different. But let's say about Morocco, I didn't feel good frequency from this at all, nor from this earthquake I was reading today about that happened near Firenze in Italy. So I would have doubts whether it was a natural incident or not. But this is for everyone's personal discernment.
Okay, all right. And if I may take the opportunity, without causing any kind of disruption, is the seeding of other races an ongoing process in other areas of the universe? So basically, I've got a question. A person sent a question: is the seeding of other races an ongoing process in other areas of the universe?
I do believe we can look at it from the collective perspective, that when we were talking last time about the cradle of Lyra and the seeding of the first Christos founders races, like the Elohim races, they have been seeded and they are actually still evolving, because they are located in dimension 12. They have the connection to the Christ consciousness. But for example, they didn't reach yet the deity planes, which are in the internal creation. So once we take a look at this, each of the races we are talking about, like the Syrian Council, the Ra Confederation, even those guardians that are helping us, each of them is on a different stage of evolution. So as this drama was increasing on this planet, we were getting the help of higher and higher councils, because these councils, like the Syrian Council or the Melchizedek Cloister, they needed higher frequencies to help us. So they needed support. So they were asking other of our cosmic brothers, like, can you help us with this issue that we've got here? So that's how we got into, for example, the Alhumbras, which are already like working with the plasmas. With the activation of the Alhumbras, we started receiving plasma currents to this planet. So each race is on a different stage of evolution. When it comes to the Milky Way, there are a lot of races which are on different stages of evolution, and unfortunately, when it comes to the Milky Way galaxy, because of the black hole in its center, there are a lot of races which are actually in danger of extinction. That's why right now Earth is going to assist those systems with getting out of this uncomfortable situation.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. I shall go forward, if I may.
Go ahead. Okay, so now we will talk a little bit about the electric wars. So basically, they lasted 900 years. But again, it might seem like forever right now. I mean, that's almost how long the Middle Ages were, at least in the traditional history. But the time is very subjective. So it's like, it might seem like a long time, but actually it wasn't so long. And as I said, these were the energetic wars. They actually had to end with the intervention of the races from density 5. So the entities from density 5 had to descend to density 1 to end this war, because it was getting out of control, and it created something called the wall in time. So it basically was supposed to put Earth on the wrong timeline, where it would go into fall and connect to the black hole in the Milky Way center. So the electric wars ended the seeding one. They wiped out almost the whole human race. Some of the angelic humans managed to hide underground, or they were escorted by the guardians, but there was basically no time to save everybody. So most of the souls had to wait for the seeding 2 to come. And they were hanging in the astral fields, trying to integrate themselves from there and waiting for a set of new incarnational cycles, because basically the electric wars were the end of the seeding one. And after that, there was a wave of cataclysm occurring on this planet. Basically, as I mentioned before, the small ice age, 2 floods, and basically these cataclysms have happened because of the planet needing to rebalance itself, because it received so many disharmonic energies that it needed to come back into integrity. So it took Earth, well, almost 2 million years to go back into the state where the life could be reseeded again. So it was quite of an event that made an extreme impact on actually how the evolution of the human races followed up, because why this war broke out on the first place. When we go back to Tara, we had these solar Templar initiates deceiving us, and again, there were 2 fractions fighting about us: the Anunnakis, the Anu Elohim, and the Syrian Council trying to protect us. So basically, the aggression that was taking place to some degree, because why humans are so important, like you could ask yourself a question, why they just don't wipe out all of us if they just want to get this planet. I mean, with the current technology they can, but the thing is that they are not going to do this because we've got the coding for the stargates on this planet. So it's like, even if they got this planet, they wouldn't have the keys to the gates, so the planet would be useless. That's why right now they are keeping us here, trying to control us here, and that's why there are so many people having their DNA hijacked. That's something I would like to mention here, because that's what I'm dealing with on almost every of my sessions. People feel like they lose their gifts, that they lose their talents, or that there is something missing in them. And it's actually a part of their coding that is being stolen by these races, used for cloning, for different sorts of purposes, for making hybrids of humans and other races. They also steal blood. I must admit, it happened to me a few weeks ago, and I had to bring it back. So they really like to do that to me, I must say. Which is okay, you need to also have a little bit of I'm laughing because if you take it all seriously, you will never get rest. So you need to have a little bit of maturity, where you understand that these races, they used to be Christic, but they fell and they lost their path, and as guardians we are here to support them, and we are here to get our quantum back if they steal it, but do not take any revenge. Only show the love, I had this vision today. I was in the bathroom, and I usually see different kinds of beings there. And there was like a really nasty thing there, like a ghost, but like with red eyes. And it's like it started making like kind of weird face expressions to me. I'm like, I just sent it a pink energy from my heart chakra, and it just disappeared. It's like it wasn't ready yet to stand the frequency, but it vanished because it couldn't attack me. So love is the most powerful force in the universe.
Yeah, I mean, well done, because maybe many of us would be fearful, and that's what attracts the energy to fall, because fear. But my understanding is the fear is that the lack of the knowing of who you are in terms of what your play is. And from my perspective, the best way to neutralize is like the way you put it, by not energizing it, by throwing fear. In fact, you're throwing like laughter or a smile, and it's kind of diffusing it. But that's probably, has it taken you some degree of practice, or was it like prevalent? I mean, I mean, for a young person, you seem to be so conscious, aware. And are there? I've asked you this question before, and I suppose more and more people are becoming more receptive to these new coming energies, in as far as what you're putting out here through this podcast, for example, is a form of activation. So people are being triggered in the most positive way, because for me, what the way you're saying it, with a certain tone, it doesn't sound science fiction. It's plausible, and that's it. That is important, to hold that energy, to say, there may be a few doubters out there, but as much as you want to doubt it, I think the best place is to be centered. As much as you don't want to believe it, maybe you don't want to deny the possibility of it being truth. So do you feel that in as far as the inorganic matter or certain parasitic invaders, their aim is to be like us? Maybe they want to emulate or go inside of us and try to copy us, because they can't be like us, I guess.
It's very interesting what you just said, because that's actually what they wanted to do to me, to be honest
Okay.
with you.
Yeah.
To get into my body to some degree, to use a certain part of my gifts. And I said no, and I broke that contract. And after I broke that, it just stopped, because you still have your free will here. And if you show your power, and if you say from the bottom of your eternal self that I do not consent to that, this is a too powerful frequency for them to take that. They used to be like us. And now, since they lost that potential, they want to drag us down along with them. That's why they still try to open all of these wormholes. That's why they still try to infiltrate you through trying to become your friends, or, saying different things just to make you believe that they are right. This is a tactic. All sorts of different tactics of the fatally that are trying to be done here. But as we are becoming more and more aware, we won't get fooled anymore. That's what is happening, that people are being awakened with different gifts, but most importantly, they are being awakened with the gift of discernment, of the right discernment, who is who and who can I trust, and they feel it in the bottom of their hearts. So we are talking about these serious things here, and I'm sometimes smiling about that and laughing, because we need to take it that way. We need to transmute this heavy frequency of someone stealing our DNA and, oh my gosh, keeping in the laboratory and making all sorts of different experiments with it. We need to turn it into the light frequency, that you can restore it, or you can have someone who will assist you with restoring it, because we are all different parts of the source, of the one source. So we are all parts of the oneness, and one part of the source can sometimes help the other. It's also the art of asking the right person for help if you truly feel like you need it, because people are sometimes lost nowadays, and they don't know which path to follow. And sometimes if you just hear one sentence, and I'm like, every session for me that I'm having with people is a lesson for me, because I'm learning to listen. And sometimes when I either say something or someone is going to say one sentence to me, it feels like a lesson to me that, yeah, this is exactly what I needed to hear today.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. We have a viewer here who's presented a question, and it says that what does it mean exactly to get a part of the stolen DNA back? And then the person says that can we imagine something as a piece of information or something physical? If you can interlace the two.
Usually it's happening on the layer of the etheric body. So it's like, you could say, a piece of information, a piece of your energy quantum, a piece of prana also, if you want to put it that way. And they take it out of the body and they have your encryption, your coding. And this way they can do different things with it. They can replicate you. Like I've been many times seeing like someone straight in front of me, just like I'm seeing you right now. And in my inner vision, I'm seeing like 5 different Barretts
Okay.
that they managed to clone. So that's what it is. So when we are getting a part of the stolen DNA back, all of these clones are being turned into space dust because it's like they weren't never supposed to exist. So you command that they are turned into space dust, and all of the quantum that was created to make them is coming back to you. The source is returning you the energy. That's how it works.
Yeah, it's like you're reclaiming it, because the all knowing is what is required as far as I'm concerned, because it's not like a document you're signing. It's not that kind of declaration. It's the fact that you are sitting in the I am, knowing that this is this I'm regaining my what was not aware, what I wasn't aware before. Now I'm
Yes, and
conscious of
something
it.
that you never agreed for. So it's a contract that is illegal and that you have the right to reclaim.
Right. Okay. Before we go on to the next one, if I can put one more, if I may. It's this person says, I heard it now several times from Oliwia. Does a simple intent of refusing consent basically repel attacks? Is it that easy? Is it that simple? That
Yes and no.
declaration.
I mean, it's something that you learn throughout the way. So in order to have, like, because when you say I agree or I don't agree, you send out a specific frequency.
Right.
But you build up that frequency, and what happens is that if you amplify your energetic field, the power of your will is getting stronger and stronger. So basically, at first, if you are like, having entities in your field, thousands of blockages, they might not even listen to you. But once you start to raise your frequency, it's that easy. So it's all also depending on the power of the frequency you're holding, because with that frequency, you're able to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, and do you feel that consciousness is also expanding, so truth is expanding, so things are not quite staying the same, although you're kind of restoring some kind of order and balance. But here's a question: if they still are encryption, can they drag out quantum and use it for their clones? I think so, but
Yes, that's what I was basically talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Many collectives are responsible for it. And well, that's not a nice thing at all. And later we are having like often genetic problems as well, because there is nothing such as the genetic disease basically. It's either being transmitted through a family curse or some kind of karmic connections, or this kind of interference where they basically steal the quantum and they start to modify it, and they sometimes return it modified, and that's how our DNA becomes changed. So that's another type of infiltration. When it comes to the DNA, there could be many ways of playing along with it, but making clones is a very popular thing.
Yeah, thank you for that. Right, we can move on to the next slide. The Thousand Years War. Wow.
So basically, when we are talking about the second seeding, the problems there started after again on Atlantis, actually, as they started also during seeding 3. But the main reason of the 1,000-year war was so after the electric wars, the sphere of Amenti was actually taken out of the Earth core, and it was basically it stayed in another galaxy because the Earth core wasn't able to stand this frequency. The planet would explode. But everything seemed to be going right during the seeding 2. So they returned the sphere of Amenti back to the Earth core. And that's when certain races came back to the game. So this war basically triggered with the Anunnakis from Sirius A, because we've got the Sirius A and C, which are those not so good Anunnaki, and the Sirius B is basically inhabited by the Christic Syrian races. So when we are talking about the races which are good that we can be in contact with, then we need to ask what Sirius is that? Well, if it's Sirius B, then you can technically trust them. So basically the Anunnakis from the Sirius A, they wanted to use people as slave race in order to mine gold, because they needed gold to keep up their atmosphere, because their planet was falling. Their planet was not in a good condition because it was cut off from the source, so they couldn't get the organic energy, so they needed to use different elementals to keep up their atmosphere running. So they wanted to use humans for that. And this war broke out between the Anunnaki and the Elohim races, the Guardian races, and it actually later turned on into an intergalactic conflict. So not just on our planet, but between different fractions. It became a really big conflict. After this conflict, the sphere of Amenti was moved out of the Earth core again because the planet was back to its imbalance. And unfortunately, this wiped out the second seeding of the human race. So it's like you could say that we repeated our mistake that we've done during the electric wars, that again these fractions were fighting against us, and we still weren't conscious enough to be able to face it. So I kind of put on this chess image because it's like it was this kind of game again, and the darkness wanted to defeat the light, but luckily the Guardians have decided for the third seeding, because there was a lot of discussion what to do, because they could have just left these souls, they would follow the space dust return, and technically they would also come back to the source just without the conscious memory. But the Elohim races, the Ioni races, all of the Guardians, they knew that we are a part of them, they are a part of us, and they just couldn't leave their conscious, their cosmic brothers, just, to be under the dominance of the Anunnakis. That's why they have decided for the third seeding to be able to again spread the consciousness, spread the love, and this time really make it happen. This time to really make the ascension a realistic goal.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, some people I had the opportunity speaking within the spiritual community. They feel that the process ascension has not happened before on the planet, but the way you're putting it, it's because we've been lowered, and now through the restoration we will go back to where we were and beyond. Is that a good way of seeing?
Absolutely, yes. Actually, the ascension was possible for a very short time during the second seeding. It was actually taking place through the Great Pyramid in Egypt, in Giza, before it fell later on. But it was possible. So some of the Egyptians and other angelic humans gathering, like in the past, the Giza complex was actually like an interdimensional station. It was connecting with Sirius and later the Pleiades, the Alcyon. And that's how some of the humans managed to ascend to Tara, like on an individual level, by going through the gates that were in Giza. That's how I managed to get my way out of there in the second seeding. But then I came back and here I am. So I've been through that process.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. So I shall move
Go
on.
ahead. Okay, so the last catastrophic event to mention, which is the fall of Atlantis, and it happened during the third seeding already. Like the things on Atlantis were escalating because of actually the ETs literally coming to our planet. And at that time, before the Atlantis fell, we knew who is who. So we knew, oh, well, this looks like a human, but it's a lizard out there. So we knew it all, but we weren't cautious enough. So basically what they wanted to do, and again, it was about the sphere of Amenti. They basically wanted to cause the explosion of it. So what they did is they tried to basically cause this event through the explosion of the power crystal generators that were located on Atlantis. But they didn't manage to handle the energy. They didn't really know what they were doing. Like I would say that the level of the education when it comes to physics, it was quite high, but they didn't make enough calculations. So basically, the Atlantis has fallen within hours actually, and now it sunk under the Atlantic Ocean. And well, there could be many theories that Atlantis was in Spain or whatever, but actually it's in the Atlantic Ocean. But if there is not enough research on it, or the research is being hidden, then we will never really know the truth. But if we went deep under the Atlantic Ocean, we would see some really interesting things out there. And also what the fall of Atlantis caused, it's like we often say that basically that's when the Stone Age began, and like we totally decreased when it comes to the technology level. I mean, when the Atlantis was still there, we talk about the crystals, about the power temples and stuff like that. Well, after the fall of Atlantis, that's actually what happened. The technology has been taken away from us by the Guardians because we weren't able to properly manage it. So they have taken the devices that were allowing us to build such wonderful structures like the Giza complex or these Mayan pyramids. It was all built by these very advanced technologies. How the fall of Atlantis affected the personal consciousness was actually the division of perception into the ego and the higher self. Before the fall, we had the integration of it. That's why I said that like we knew who is who, so like we could have made a distinction between a human and a lizard, which could be quite challenging in these times. You could get surprised. So basically, we got separated into this ego, stationing in the 3D, and the higher self, which is like our over-consciousness. So right now, when we are experiencing, for example, different dreams, that's often our higher self telling us things to our ego. And as we are expanding our consciousness, we are integrating these two aspects of ourselves.
That's great. I mean, these dreams are kind of like downloads, aren't they? When we talk about lucid dreaming, there are some profound messages that's being conveyed, which can help navigate through certain aspects of how we are perceiving life. And obviously, ultimately, it's to have a full-on connection and seeing it for what it really is. And no, that's really exciting. Thank you for that. So I will go forward to the next one. Oh, the path of magnetic reconnection. That sounds interesting.
Yes, that's an interesting one. So
Yes.
basically, when we are talking about, just to explain one definition, the externalization alignment, we are talking about the fact that Earth's plasma template is being aligned with its eternal self template. So it's like it's being aligned basically with the eternal creation, the fields of the source. So Earth, after so many traumatic events, if not the host called the Crystal River failsafe host, we wouldn't have this opportunity to get back into this first externalization alignment. We wouldn't be able to match with the with these frequencies, because basically what started to happen in 2009. I don't know if you're familiar with that with this Norway spiral event.
No, I not.
So
Not heard.
basically, this they were saying that this was basically like the Russian missile test, but it's actually something that's not true. It was actually opening of the wormhole, a
Okay.
huge wormhole that's connected us with the wormhole in the Milky Way galaxy center. And that's when something called the dark flower event started, and that started to basically infect our plasma template on the planetary and personal level. So there is also quite a bit that we need to fix about our personal plasma templates as well. Anyways, the first externalization alignment is now going to occur through the merger with the M31 Andromeda galaxy. The scientists are actually saying that this galaxy is going to hit with Andromeda in about 5 billion years. How interesting is that? But it's actually going to happen in 900 years. That's when this process is going to begin, and is going to last for a few more thousands of years. But that's when this process is going to start to proceed. This is actually going to cause very positive changes on the planet, because the Andromeda galaxy, you could call this galaxy as the eternal Christic galaxy, because it's actually having its connection to the source, no damage in the plasma template. So this way, we are actually going to have a very nice exchange of frequencies that we are already receiving from this planet. It's also going to ensure something called the solar symbiosis. The solar symbiosis, actually, when we are talking about the solar system, the sun and the planets, there is an energy exchange between them through the Merkabah fields. So the sun is sending the plasmas to the planets are also giving it back to the sun, and there is like an exchange also between actually the particle and the antiparticle universe. But there's like a mechanics to it. But since the sun has entered its death process, the sun is going to die within, let's say a few hundred of years. It's not so important anymore, because by that time we will be under the protectorate of the Andromeda galaxy, and this is going to occur through the transgalactic solar symbiosis. So actually, this is called transgalactic because it's not the sun exchanging energies with the planet, but these are the galaxies doing it together. And this is going to allow us to connect with the median Earth, which is actually the one that Earth is going to merge with, to transform with. And it's going to be in the deity planes, which is the plasma creation domains, you could say. So through the first externalization alignment with the M31 Andromeda, we are going to become an eternal life galaxy again. So the stars won't be dying, the planets won't be going through frequency distortions, because in the eternal life systems, there is an exchange between the suns, the galaxies, the universes even. So, and that's going to occur through the process of the magnetic reconnection. So it's also a physical process where these galaxies will be pulling each other. And it's also going to happen with Orion, actually, because there are 3 galaxies that will be involved in this process. So there will be Andromeda, Earth, Milky Way, and also the Orion Mintaka, because actually the Orion is the place where the galactic core is. That's why it's so important to also have this core, which is going to be also assisting in connection of these 2 systems. Because also to mention one thing, the Earth, like the Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxy, they used to be a one system before. But 360 billion years ago, they separated. And that's when this black hole system was created in the Milky Way galaxy. So actually, we are getting back into alignment with this wonderful process.
Well, that's reassuring to know. Thank you for that. Sure. Move on.
Okay, so just to say a little bit about what kind of role this planet has. So right now, as this Milky Way has entered phantom fall, as it says, 360 billion years ago after its separation from Andromeda, well, it's a phantom fall galaxy because we are a little bit cut off from the source. Maybe not completely, but with this black hole in the center, we're not getting so much frequencies either. So this crystal river host, these are like energetic arms holding us, embracing us, and keeping the frequency for us. So with this current host that we are having, actually this planet is noble because it's having its ascension potential still there, and it's going to be a wonderful thing for other systems from this Milky Way especially, which don't have this opportunity, because the closer you are to the center, actually, the more of the danger in fall you are. Actually, in the Mayan beliefs, they are talking about the dark road and the birth canal. So basically, the dark road is leading from the outer to the center, because the darkness is in the center. But the birth canal is leading from the center to the outer. So actually, if you are on the peripheries of the Milky Way galaxy, you are in much better situation. So this planet right now is going to open its passages and allow some of the fallen systems to find its way back home as well. And this is a wonderful gift. This is a wonderful opportunity. And that's actually what also some of our higher selves are involved in, actually. There are many people working in these fallen realities right now, especially during the dream state. If your dreams feel phantom, weird, well, that's because you are probably in the phantom galaxy working on opening the gates, the passages that will connect us with this planet. Because we need to reprogram the shields in these fallen systems to align them with this planet. So that's basically what some of us are doing right now on these higher levels. We need to assist the guardians with this as well. I mean, we are guardians, so this is the work we are doing as a collective.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. Beautiful.
Oh, one more thing. I forgot about this one, I must admit. So the ephemeral capsule. This name has been going all over my head lately, because I felt like something activated in my fields after I did a clearing with someone, a very powerful clearing. And I felt that something activated too, and I was like, what is that? And I got this name, like the ephemeral capsule. I've heard about it before, but I was never really interested in what is that until it got activated in my fields. So the ephemeral capsule It's basically called the capsule of the magnetic reconnection. And by activating these specific structures in our fields, we are also being reconnected with the M31 Andromeda. And also Earth is going to activate its own ephemeral capsule. And this way it's going to align with Orion and with Andromeda. So you could say this is your vehicle that is going to take you to the right place. So there are 5 different stages of the ephemeral capsule. It's going to take quite a little bit of the process to actually be able to engage all of the stages of this vehicle. But working with the visuals of this capsule is enough. Like, you could really feel the frequency from this geometry coming. And you could also see that actually you could even notice the Katara grid structure at the base of these ephemeral capsules. So again, they are working with this crest code, which is the 12-tree Katara grid. And they are also inducing the infra-pink plasma spectra and the intra-blue, which are basically these 2 basic plasma frequencies that are assisting us with the transfiguration. So the ephemeral capsule is like our vehicle, which is going to allow us to get to the right place.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay, and now we are getting to the final stage, which is the free paths of the free will choice. So there are 2 paths which I would say are aligned with the Christic path, and one choice which is not aligned with the Christic path. It's the path of the fall. It's the fallen path. So I will first talk a little bit about the path of the Lila and the path of Trua, which are the Christic paths. So the path of Lila is the Bardo death transition. So that basically means that after your physical body passes away, you will be able to make your transition to the higher planes, higher dimensional planes, and you are going to leave your physical body behind, but you will go with your consciousness, and that's also a good choice. And you have the path of Trua, which is the atomic transfiguration. So you can do it within this lifetime, and basically you're transfiguring your atomic structure and you're appearing in the other dimensional plane, but with your physical body still there. And so these are the 2 Christic paths. These are the paths that the Crystal River fail-safe host is ensuring to us. And the 3rd path is the path of the Fermi fold, which is basically the Stardust return. What it means, because when we talk about the Fermi, we are talking about something called the Fermi bubbles, which are basically the bubbles which are emitting this gamma ray radiation, and they are basically extending through a very wide spectrum of the Milky Way. But these Fermi bubbles, they are fallen, and actually there are like 2 big bubbles, and they are supposed to actually be put together in something called the Vesica Pisces position, where they basically will face lock our galaxy. That's not going to happen thanks to the host, but those who don't synchronize with the rhythm of the planet, and the planet has actually chosen the path of Trua, but it will also host the people who choose the path of Lila. We have the free will, so we don't have to choose to align with the planet. So those who don't do that will follow the path of the Fermi fold, and that basically means that they are going to their physical body is going to die after the Xeon gets depleted, and they will reincarnate in different areas of the Milky Way galaxy, which don't accept the host. So basically this will be fallen systems of this Milky Way galaxy, and those people are going to keep reincarnating until they completely get depleted out of their quantum. So when we look at this image, it's like it's showing a road with the beautiful stars, and well, it's up to us which path we are going to consciously choose. You have your microphone turned off.
Thank you for that. I mean, your beautiful presence obviously bringing amplification in terms of certain choices that people will make. And there'll be certain preferences for sure. But here's a question: is the transfiguration path in any point preferable to the, how do you pronounce that, the
Bardo
Bardo
path.
path? Yes.
I wouldn't say so, because it's also kind of determining the level of frequency we are on, and the level of frequency is kind of not just connected to this incarnation, but the lives that we had before. So if we have a lot of damage to fix, it's okay if our body cannot make it through, because we can do it through the path of Lila. But also what comes to mind is people with different disabilities. If their bodies are not able to walk or to do different things, the path of Lila seems to be more of a preferable option if they don't manage to fix all the damage in their physical bodies, but for example they manage to astral project or to have plasma body projections. People with disabilities very often have different gifts as well,
Yes.
with the clairvoyance, clairaudience.
Mm.
So they can choose the path of Lila to leave these physical bodies which have, a lot of damage that needs to be fixed. And they can have another body in these different dimensional planes, which will be eternal and which will be pretty healthy. So it's also an individual way to look into. And well, it's well said that it's only a personal choice. Exactly. And it's also actually the way it was actually already decided on the levels of our higher selves.
Here's a question from Michael. Well, it's not a question; it's a remark. It's even simpler than that. Whatever you can see has no more power over you. It's always us opening the door or not. No consent can help for a while, but the higher seeing sees that there is nothing to defend from. It's all illusions wanting us to feel bad, angry, and anxious. How does that resonate with you,
Very
Olivia? I mean,
much, because actually that's something when someone asked, like, is it just your will when you try to, get your DNA back or cut off any entities? That really resonates, because actually it's your will and you don't have to be afraid of these entities, because the fear is an illusion, as Michael has said. So once you know that this is all just your experience and that you have the power to decide for yourself, once you truly understand and activate that within yourself, then there is nothing to be afraid of. And that's why I said it takes time to amplify your field, because actually to have this understanding is also a frequency level.
yeah, no, that's very, very powerful. And it just things that are, as far as I'm concerned, things which is synthetic, not organic, just diminishes. It collapses. It because you're becoming more. You're taking ownership. You're present. So what tends to happen, from my own take, is that when you're not present enough, shall we say, you're going to attract certain shady characters to take homage, to kind of stick on you, whether it's a form of implant, which is going to interfere. But with taking order back and self love and respect, and send that message out as well, reverence, it's very, very powerful. But thank you very much for that. I think that's the end of our slideshow, I guess. Is there
Yes.
one? And
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
the colors. We've got
Yes, the
beautiful,
colors again.
beautiful.
Take the frequency. But that's pretty much the end of this presentation.
Thank you so much. We've got beautiful remarks coming in, such a powerful, beautiful, and the words have been just flowing through your heart as usual, Oliwia. It's so good to have you here. It's do you want to add a little bit more to that? I mean, you said quite a lot there. It's quite a bit.
Yes. So right now I'm having this moment. I'm like, well, understand. Someone says such a powerful word. Yeah, actually, my friend Michael has actually made me realize how important it is to say understand instead
Yeah.
of understand. So when I use the word understand, I'm usually like using it where like I understand the concept, but I don't feel it yet. But when I understand something, this knowledge really gets to me and I truly feel it from the bottom of my heart. So thank
Well,
you
we
to Michael for
thank
that word, because I heard it before, but he was the one who made me like fully embody it, the
yes.
concept of it, and actually how powerful this using such words is.
Yes, yes. No, that's beautiful. So it's we've done another beautiful part. Can you see this extending a little bit more into, because there's quite a few subject areas to expand on, I guess. Are you going to come back with an additional add-on to what we've done with the first part, the second part? Is there another part you want to put there, or
There could be so many segments to this, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
It
But
also it also depends, like, what do you think would be the most important for your bioactivator as well, because there's so many topics. Like, I remember we discussed about talking more about the Merkaba fields. You said that I remember you mentioning also about the Merkaba body. There's a lot to discuss about that as well, and I think
yes,
it would be quite powerful to connect with looking at different Merkabic structures,
that would be good.
because that's also going to give us, like, well, a very high activation. I like to create presentations, because when people look at them, they see the codes, they see
Yes,
the images. I try to like make the image resonate with what I'm saying. So actually, when I was talking about the fall of Tara, on the back of the image there was like the background of the Pleiades system, because that's actually how the Earth, it's like it went through the eighth star in the Pleiades system, and that's how it went to dimension 3. So maybe if it's not quite like fully accurate with the images of the sky and so on, it still kind of gives quite of a context.
yeah. Here's a question: where can we see replays? Well, I've got an extensive library, and Oliwia has certainly contributed a lot with the barrettunion.com YouTube channel. So it's quite self-explanatory. So if you go there and you can click and just play, and I'm sure you will be enjoying that. There's one more question.
Yes,
Can
and
you
I'm going to also post the link on my profile later after we
yeah.
finish.
Okay, fantastic. Have you covered the November spiral shift yet? Been on my mind lately. Have you covered the
Oh, not yet.
Well,
Not yet, because that's when we talk about the future events.
ah,
Um, that's for sure an exciting one to talk about, I think.
okay. So yeah, I was going to say the way we leave it then. We'll get together on a little private session and just kind of feel the energies, and then come up with another episode, which will be,
Yes,
I'm
and
sure.
what I think is that people can also drop in the comments on YouTube or on Facebook the
Mhm.
suggestions of what they would like me to put more attention to, so we can also see other people's preference. And I think that will be also quite interesting to maybe do it this way, to kind of get suggested by the collective.
That would be fantastic. Well, Oliwia, thank you very, very much for being here again. Really, we appreciate the in the amount of nectar that you're putting out there is just absolutely amazing. So thank you for that, and we look forward to another session on our bioactivator very, very soon, in the next possibly fortnight or so, or maybe even sooner. So who knows? We'll
Yes,
just
we'll see about that. It's been
well,
lovely here again. I just love the frequency of the bioactivator. I think that the energy levels between us are also like very in resonance. So thank you for hosting me here again.
thank
And
you so much.
thank you everyone for commenting, asking questions, because that's how it's making it, that's how it's all being so complete and lovely. So thank you everyone, and see you very soon.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and